Okay, so I'm a founder and CEO of a company called General UI. I don't Windows much, so how do we run this sucker? Is it shift there? Okay.
Control L is what I was told.
Control L. Okay, so I'm here to talk about paired development. And paired development is a tool of a software development team. Like all tools, it should only be used for the right situation. It's not an end-all, be-all universal solution. There's no such thing. But it is a tool that we use quite a bit. And the subheadline for this talk is one hit bad, two hits good, or it's dangerous to go alone, take me. How many developers do we have out there versus testers? Is it how many? So 2 developers, how many testers? How many people are both? Yeah, is it easier or hard to be both?
Different skill sets.
But maybe there's a cognitive gap there that you have to bridge sometime if you want to be both. So I'm going to speak from a developer's perspective, but it's important to think about that. So here's this guy. Anybody know who this is? He's awesome. He's awesome. This is a character from the movie Grandma's Boy. And if you've never seen Grandma's Boy, it's kind of old, but he's a developer. He's an incredible developer. He's like the best, right? He wrote the game that the company makes all its money on, and he did it solo. He did it all by himself because he's that amazing. This is how he works. This is his workstation. It's incredible. He sits there and he goes in there and he writes code and he comes out with his product that sells, and it's amazing. So is this guy a developer or a tester? Well, he's both, and apparently he's just phenomenal. Phenomenal. He does his work in a cave. That's a cave. So I kind of look at him a little bit more like this guy. He goes into his cave and he says, "Okay, everybody, I'm going to finish the product. I'll come out in 3 months. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be so successful. We're going to make so much money." And sometimes, you get lucky, and he does come out and you get a great product. But most of the time, you either never see him again, or he comes back periodically and asks for more time and more Cheetos and Red Bull. But that's not a sustainable industrial model, and the poor company that its next release on that guy is going to be in trouble. A lot of software is written by solo developers in their basement on passion projects, but it's just simply not a scalable software development model. And it's not something I choose to invest my time and attention or my customers' money in. So we think that solo development is a little bit like texting while driving. And the reason is you're distracted. If you're a solo developer, you're trying to do it all. You're trying to be the developer and the tester. You're trying to be the product manager. You're trying to think about the business case, the user value proposition. You're trying to think about aesthetic and design. You're trying to bring all of those things into the code that you're writing and support all of those interests simultaneously. You're going to fail. You're going to hit some guy, knock him off his bike, and break his glasses. That's distracted driving. So instead, we think this is a better idea, right? Somebody reads the map while the other person drives. What a concept, right? And that way you have 2 different tasks. One person is driving. He's getting the code to compile. He's typing the keys, making nicely formatted comments and using proper coding conventions and engineering practices. The other person is thinking about testing. How are we going to test this code? How are we going to deploy this? How are we going to market it? Is this what the designers want? Or is this what the user needs? All of those things. It's a rare person that can read the map and drive at the same time, but a lot of us try it. So many of us try to do that and succeed for a little while, but it's not sustainable. It's not an industrial process. Turns out that this is not a new idea. A lot of disciplines have this concept, that particularly when you're talking about something that really matters. Well, I think the software really matters. I think the quality of software really matters. Is it 2 people doing the job of 1? Absolutely. Is it better and more efficient? Absolutely, it can be for many situations. This is what a Ferry Station looks like. This is not our company. I don't know who this is. I just found it on the internet. As I was watching Star Trek and the slides. So this is a Ferry Station. You notice that this is very much like ours at our office. This is 2 Thunderbolt displays, and they're mirrored. So you have mirrored pan. You see the same thing on both monitors. You also have 2 keyboards and 2 mice. Only one person can drive. If they both try to move the mouse, they'll fight over the mouse. But it forces us into a pattern of one person driving, the other person navigating. And I am reading the code of the person that's writing it as he's writing it, so we end up with 100% code review. And more importantly than that, we are talking. We're talking about the code. We're talking about how the code works, what it's supposed to do. We're talking about our engineering practices. We're talking about tests. We're talking about assurance and software quality. And we're solving problems with our vocal cords, which is a human function. It's actually a very important human function. Humans are hardwired to solve problems by talking about them. We do it when we parent. I do it with my business partner when we solve business problems. That's what we're doing, we're parenting by talking. Sometimes a customer will ask me, well, isn't that twice as expensive? I say, well, if programming were typing, then yes, it would be twice as expensive to have 2 people doing the typing at one. Programming is not typing. Programming is problem solving. Software quality, software test is problem solving, and it has to be a shared solution to be sustainable. So when you write code in a pair, you get 100% code review. All the time, guaranteed 100% code review. You don't have to do this later in a meeting or in an aggressive code review. I've been in some Microsoft code reviews that were like the Spanish Inquisition, right? So that's not a healthy process, no matter what you might think. That's a hardship, and instead, you can, by pairing, you can create a team conversation. You can get people working on the problem of code quality engineering practices, testing, aesthetic, design, all of that stuff in between 2 people continuously. And when you're at the end of the project, you may find that because you're fixing bugs inline, and because, more profoundly, you're communicating test engineering practices throughout the team, and you're establishing a team ethos of having these test engineering practices, that you don't end up at the end of the project with a huge bug queue and trapped in there. She's lucky she has safety goggles. But when we get to the end of a paired development project, we find that the bug queue is very low, and that's a sign of health. That's a sign of project health. And fundamentally, the engineering practices on the team spread like wildfire. So if I give a tech talk about continuous integration or dependency inversion, I might reach half the developers in the room, the other half would tune me out, or be having a bad day, or not be there. And maybe half those developers, of those half, maybe a couple will start to use the practices that I'm evangelizing. But when the team themselves start to spread the engineering practices, not by talking about it, but by doing, as a matter of course, and doing our jobs together, those practices spread like wildfire. And soon there's nobody who's not using dependency inversion on the team, because if they do that, their pair partner will force them to start. So the best ideas bubble up to the surface. You get really high-performing teams, and you get a sense of camaraderie on the team. People form really close friendships. I've noticed that it's really great for the cohesion of the team, and everybody gets along, except when they don't. And when they don't, there's still a benefit, because we find out. And we find out if people aren't working together right away. It doesn't wait 3 months, 6 months, a year with a disgruntled, disenfranchised, or disconnected employee, developer, tester. If people aren't getting along, we find right away we have an opportunity to solve conflict. And if that fails, we have the opportunity to make change when it changes. A developer who knows everything about a product and everything about his or her code base that she or he wrote and owns is a huge business risk. It's called the Tower of Knowledge. And it's a leaning tower of knowledge, because those developers buy lottery tickets and they cross the street. So they could either win or be hit by a bus. Or they could leave the company And if they're the only person that knows the code, they're the only person that knows the intricacies of the product development, they are walking out the door with a large part of the product, and that large part of the product will leave you, and that's a huge business risk. It's not sustainable from a industrial standpoint. And so when you have pairing happening on a large scale, you have interchangeable development relationships, you find that finally developers can take vacations. I was really quiet on this. But yeah, we can take vacations because there are people that cover for us. We're doing it as a team. And the team is the thing, right? So if you work as a team, you can do great, amazing things, and even dress like that. So the point is that we're making software engineering a sustainable activity. We're producing products that are sustainable because they are a function, a product of the communication of the team. The quality of the communication, the trust within the team is the quality and sustainability of the product. And so pairing is a strategy that can serve that end.
Great.